I'm not going to be afraid to age with grace. I'm going to go into the stage of my life like the badass that I know I am. There's literally a physiological shift in your body because your body feels safe when it gets novel input into one of its 8 sensory systems. And all the answers are in here. You just have to learn how to tap in.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Hot Flash Health Podcast, where we're dishing out unfiltered truth about menopause with a side of sass and a sprinkle of crass. Get ready to dive into the wild world of hot flashes, mood swings, and all the other joys of being a queenager. This ain't your grandma's podcast. We're here to chat about our bodies, our passions, our fears, and desires, all while navigating the roller coaster ride of menopause. So grab a glass of wine or 3, kick back, and let's ride this hot flash wave together. I'm Courtney Mamusha, and alongside me is my fabulous co-host, Dawn Fable. We're just 2 outspoken gals who aren't afraid to say it like it is. Now let's kick off today's podcast.
It is such an honor to be here. This is so exciting. I was so excited when you two launched this endeavor. I love me a podcast, and I have gone through a massive transition in the last few years, and anyone who knew me before and knows me now can just see it like the second I walk into a room. And I have a lot of that I have to thank nervous system regulation for.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I'm excited to jump in because I'm just meeting you for the first time. So thank you. But you're all about helping people master this nervous system.
Yeah.
For us ladies who are in our 40s and 50s, how can understanding this make menopause their time to shine?
Yeah. Great question. And I have to admit, I feel a little bit like an imposter talking about this because although I am 46, my birthday was just last week. Happy birthday, me. I do not yet have a single perimenopause symptom. I think it's because I was a late bloomer. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe like late bloomer means late menopause. Like, I'll take it. However, I have pretty much all of my friends are experiencing this change this time in life and the symptoms that come with it. And so I'm watching them navigate it. I feel very prepared for when I have to start navigating it. But the reason why the nervous system is so important as an element, as a tool in your toolbox when you're trying to figure out how to get through this period of time, it's because during perimenopause, there are symptoms that emerge that are neurological in nature. And this shows up as a disruption in your systems that are estrogen regulated, right? So think thermoregulation. That's where the hot flashes come in. Think sleep, circadian rhythms, sensory processing. You might be extra sensitive sensory wise, too much sound, too much light, just everything is just too much. Cognitive decline is common. Symptoms like forgetfulness, brain fog, delayed verbal memory, processing speed, all of these things, they're all connected to the nervous system. And so if you can tap into your own nervous system, you can really learn how to work with it and communicate to it and tell it you are safe going through these things. You can basically put yourself back into a state of regulation very quickly so that when you are feeling dysregulated in these ways that show up as outputs of a perimenopausal, menopausal woman's body, you can get yourself sort of back to baseline. I mean, the 3 F's that a lot of people will be familiar with are fight, flight, and freeze. So these are stress responses of a nervous system that feels unsafe. There's also a 4th F that I can't not mention every time I talk about this, and that is Fawn. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Fight, flight, and freeze, those are all biologically driven. Fawn is actually something that is adaptive. We learn it as children. We learn how to shapeshift into something other than to maintain connection with our caretakers. And fawning, let's also call it people pleasing. So either of you ever have any experience with that? No, I know, right? I'll tell you about it later, Courtney. So
I'm kidding. Yes.
Yeah. No, we all, as women, I think we're all expert fawners. I think also coming into our 40s and 50s, we're reaching the point where we're kind of over it. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. However, change is incredibly hard. I mean, we all know this. From a nervous system perspective, I'll tell you why. Your body, your brain, your nervous system has created behaviors, tendencies, reactions, all sorts of things throughout your entire life to keep you safe. You've even adopted beliefs over time that have kept you safe. So let's say that a belief you've adopted is, I'm not lovable. I'm not worthy. Okay. You get into your 40s and 50s and you're kind of like, no, that's not true. I'm lovable. I'm worthy. But you know what your survival brain says? Ooh, please don't change that belief. That belief has kept you safe since you were 4. And change requires a ton of energy from your nervous system and your entire body. And your brain is like, I don't think we have the energy to expend here to change this belief. So I think we'll just hold on to it. Okay. So as we come into this place as women where we don't care anymore, we're sick of the fawning, we're sick of the people pleasing, yet we're trying to figure out how to actually create change in our behaviors. That's where the nervous system can come in to help you make that jump. Because if you can tell your body through nervous system communication that you are safe to change, then you actually can. So, as I was talking about beliefs, changing them feels really scary. We have to also remember there's different parts of our brain that are involved in really every moment of time. Every piece of input that's coming into your brain from your environment is a piece of information that's getting filtered through your brain from your, I'm going to point back here, like by your brainstem. That's your survival brain. It's your primitive brain. It's the one that's always asking, am I safe or am I not safe? And then the information gets filtered up into the midbrain. That's your emotional brain. That's where your limbic system lives. That's your anxiety part of your brain. And it's always asking the question, am I loved? Am I in connection? Do I have people? And if the answer is yes, then we finally get to filter up into the front of our brain, the most highly developed, the prefrontal cortex, where you can make good decisions and use your executive functioning skills. And that part of your brain is where we want to be living, right? But our brains can't help it but want to keep us back in our survival brains at some point. And so this part of your brain knows it's time to ditch the old beliefs. The prefrontal cortex knows I'm not fawning anymore. I'm done. I'm not going to be afraid to age with grace. I'm going to go into the stage of my life like the badass that I know I am. But this part of your brain doesn't always get the memo and it doesn't always think it's safe. So that was a really long intro to what I want to say is if you can use nervous system tools, which I use in my coaching practice, to put your body in a state of regulation and feeling safe. And then you work on literally like self-talk, affirmations. I matter. I'm loved. I'm worthy. I can age gracefully. I'm going to embrace this period of time in my life. And then you follow up with another regulating drill. You kind of sandwich this tough belief in between two pieces of really positive regulating input into your system. And suddenly that scary belief, your nervous system's like, oh, okay, maybe I can buy into this. Maybe it is safe to believe that this is true. And that's what I work on with my clients every day.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And I need to call you for myself.
Let's do it.
You know, a lot of us going through all of these different challenges, flight, fight, I'm in freeze mode. So, you know, I kind of know a lot about this, but
Yeah.
a lot of this has to do with stress and what's going on in our lives. So I wanted to kind of talk through how we could channel all of the from careers to kids to losing our own parents to hot flashes to husbands, partners,
Yeah.
all of the above. You know, let's kind of talk about how we can take that stress and maybe make it into a more empowered version of ourselves. Is that possible?
I think it is possible. I think the first thing we have to do is we have to lead with compassion for ourselves. And I'll tell you specifically what I want women to have compassion for. And that is you are just doing the best you can with the tools you have, okay? So when your kids come home from school and they're dumping their backpacks everywhere and they're demanding snacks. And you're like, I just tidied. What is happening? And you're like about to lose it. And then maybe you do lose it because you've had a day. That is not you being weak. That is not you being a bad mom. That is you getting dysregulated. And guess what? Your nervous system goes into fight mode. And that's actually exquisitely adaptive. These things that we do, they're not just random and they're not weak. They are your body trying to keep you safe. So having compassion for ourselves that, okay, let's say, oh, I'll use one that I do a lot. It's been a day. I would really like to have a glass of coping wine or two while I make sure that my kid gets through the shower. Okay, I know the coping wine, it's not my best and highest use of my time or my calories. But in that moment, sometimes I'm just like, I just need to self soothe right now. Okay. And everyone has their things: food, ice cream, chips, doom scrolling on social media, reading trashy novels, completely checking out and dissociating. Okay. These are things that we have learned through time help put a band aid on the raw wound that is life some days. So to have the compassion to look back once you get out of your survival brain and you're back up here and you're like, oh my gosh, I was such a bitch to my kids. Have some grace to be like, you know what? I got dysregulated. So knowing that like we all do this and it's just because it's our wiring, but then thinking, okay, I know that I can rewire my brain. I know that neuroplasticity is real. What can I do for 1 minute a day? I'm not joking, 1 minute a day to give my nervous system some regulating input to tell it that it's safe. And over time, you will see your patterns shift. Like the coping wine, not as much of a go-to for me anymore because I just can handle more stress. My capacity inside my body has grown.
Is this actually a vineyard? Because I want to invest in it. The Hot Flash Health coping wine.
I cannot take credit for coping wine. A friend said it a long time ago, and I was like, that's bold.
I just had a follow-up question to that about dysregulation. Like you say
Yeah.
that word,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of trying to think about what that means. Is it more of
Right.
like you're get knocked off of what you expect would happen and you're going into a different mode?
Yeah. Well, I should back up, and I'm glad you asked that to caveat that the goal of having a healthy nervous system is not to be regulated at all times. Okay. So your nervous system moves constantly in sort of a wave pattern from sympathetic to parasympathetic. The sympathetic state of the nervous system, that's where you're activated. That's where you're ready to take action. If you too did not have the ability to go into sympathetic, you couldn't sit here and record a podcast, okay? Because you'd be like, I have no get up and go. So we love our parasympathetic stage of our nervous system. But the problem is sometimes it goes way up here and you get amped, you get jittery, you get nervous stomach, you get knots in your shoulders, you get insomnia, you can't turn your brain off. Okay. So that's a sympathetic state. Maybe you're fidgety. We don't love that high of a sympathetic state. Okay. Now, the opposite is the parasympathetic state. That is what we call rest and digest. Okay, we love a parasympathetic state. Like, I want to chill. I want to be able to relax. Some people literally do not have the ability to relax. They just feel guilty that they just can't, right? So we want to be able to relax, but we don't want to go so low in our parasympathetic state that we're dissociating. Okay. And sometimes we do that. Sometimes we freeze. Again, it's adaptive. What we want from a healthy nervous system is one that looks more like gentle, undulating waves. It's the ability to move into the sympathetic when we need to and move back down into parasympathetic when it's appropriate to, without having the huge peaks and valleys. Okay. Because if we had a flat line, like what kind of life is that? I don't want to live a flat line life. I want to ride the waves, but I don't want to feel like I'm getting like pummeled on the beach. You know what I mean? I have about, I don't know, 60 or so exercises that I teach my clients, but there's one that I can teach today that's really easy. And may I demonstrate?
Please.
All right. So this is called tongue circles. The reason why your tongue is very important for your nervous system is because it's back there connected to your vagus nerve. Anyone familiar with the vagus nerve? Has this come up? You've maybe heard of it. This is the long.
What stays there? What stays there stays there. Vegas.
Yes, what stays in the vagus nerve stays in the. Sadly, what stays in the vagus nerve does not. It's everywhere. It winds throughout your body. Vagus is the root word. It means wanderer because the vagus nerve is a cranial nerve that goes all throughout your body. It innervates your lungs. It innervates your heart, your throat. It's your ability to speak your truth from your heart. It goes all the way down into your ankles. So the vagus nerve is a key player in your nervous system health, and we can give it a little bit of stimulus. We can give it a little bit of attention by doing different exercises with your tongue. Okay. So, also, I just want to caveat that what I love about the work that I do is all of these drills are like stupid simple. They're also really quick and they're also weird. So I'm just like, you know what? Let's do nervous system regulation, but let's make it weird. Well, I mean, this could be sort of like some training, some like resilience training. We're going to really work up the muscle. Okay. So yeah, you can sidebar with him later. But you're going to keep your lips closed and you're going to take your tongue and you're going to trace your teeth all the way to the back, down, all the way around, up, and around. Okay. Keeping your lips closed. This is very slow, intentional, mindful movement. And you're really stretching your tongue. So here I'm going to demonstrate. Sometimes this will induce like a big inhale. It might even trigger a yawn, which is fantastic. That means your nervous system is like, oh, thank God. Like I feel so much better. I can actually take a breath. So I kind of a go-to drill for me is I do tongue circles, 3 one direction, 3 the other direction. And generally you can like feel a shift in your body afterwards. Now, I also do teach my clients assessments of their range of motion to prove to themselves, to show themselves that they have indeed initiated a really positive response in their nervous system. Because before you do a drill, I will say like, okay, assess your range of motion. Then you do, Courtney just yawned, that a girl. Yay, nervous system.
It's like, woo!
Got this. You assess your range of motion before a drill, then you do the drill, then you reassess your range of motion afterwards. And generally, like if the input is positive and regulating to your nervous system, you will see an increase in your range of motion. So like a really easy way to test that is just by turning your head left and right. Like how far can I look to the right and to the left? Use your eyes to mark, you got to look directly ahead of you. Don't let your eyes trick you and look way over to the side. And you can just kind of, before you do a drill, you just see, okay, how far can my head turn right now? Then you do tongue circles, then you reassess, and you will see that your head will literally be able to turn farther to the right and to the left. Because when our bodies are regulated, they're open, they feel free. When they're dysregulated, they close up and they feel constricted and unsafe and like they're ready to fight or ready to run.
My tongue feels like tired. Like that was just a workout for my tongue.
It is. Yeah, it is. There's another one you can do is just like hold your tongue in your cheek like this.
I don't care how he feels. I only care how I feel.
Yeah. Well, that's a great one. Another one that I'll just throw out really quick is providing some sensory stimulus to your feet. This is turning into a real like bedroom scenario. I didn't really mean for it to, but it's really important that your brain knows where your feet are in space. You want to have a really clear proprioceptive map in your head of your feet, because think about it, that's the way that you navigate your environment. So if the bottom of your feet are your contact point with the earth, you want your brain to be really clear about where they are. So, a way to provide a ton of really regulating input into your body through your somatosensory system, that is basically just like the sense of touch. I can feel things on my skin, is to rub your feet. Now, here's the trick. Number one, this is not like a foot massage, like a muscle situation. This is a skin, like you want to light up the sensory receptors on the surface of your skin. The other trick is you can't do it with your own skin. So, like hand on foot, your brain can't really tell the difference between this skin and the skin on your feet. So, what you would do is you take like a soft cloth, something like a microfiber cloth. I really like using exfoliating gloves, and I just prop my foot up on I'm gonna just do a little, I just, I'm just rubbing the foot on my skin. The foot on my skin, that's not a thing. I'm just rubbing the skin on my foot. I'm a big fan of the dry brush on the foot. So anyway, this is getting silly, but here's the point. If you sit down, you assess your range of motion either in your shoulder or your neck, you rub your feet with something other than your skin for 30 seconds, maybe a minute for each foot. Reassess your range of motion afterwards. You would be surprised. There's literally a physiological shift in your body because your body feels safe when it gets novel input into one of its 8 sensory systems. And it seems like, how could that possibly work? But again, like I said, it's stupid simple and it works. I mean, we would not be aware of being in our bodies if we didn't have a nervous system. Your nervous system is your brain, it's your brainstem, it's your cranial nerves, and it's your peripheral nerves. And they take in information from your vision, your touch, smell, taste, hearing. Then you've got vestibular system, that's your relationship with gravity. You've got your proprioceptive system, that's your ability to understand where your body is in space. And then you've got your interoception, that's internal sensations. I feel hungry, my chest feels tight, my respiration is rapid. All the information that comes into your brain from these 8 systems tells you something about your environment. And am I safe in my environment or am I not? And sadly, there are so many things in our modern world that feel like threats to our safety that are not. That email from your boss, the look from the woman in the carpool line, and you're like, oh my God, did she just like side eye me? What did I do? Oh my God, what did I say? And you're ruminating. All these things, your survival brain doesn't know that they're not going to kill you. Like, this part of your brain knows, oh, it's just that she gives everyone side eye. Whatever. This part of your brain knows. This part of your brain hijacks this part all the freaking time. So if you can tell your body these things are not dangerous, then you can just be.
Love that. Be bitches. Well, I know that you're not directly going through menopause, but obviously you know that us as women are changing constantly.
Yeah.
A lot of us are feeling very disconnected from our bodies and, obviously dealing with this roller coaster ride of emotion. How can your neurosomatic work help them kind of reconnect with their skin?
Yeah, I love that. I love this especially because personally, I feel more at home in my own skin than I ever have. And I really do think it does just come back to feeling safe in your own skin. It's and finding a new way to communicate that message to yourself, because I don't know about you, talk therapy, I'm a huge fan, but I do think there comes a point where like you can only tell yourself messages so many times and like it doesn't always compute. Right? Do you know what I mean? Like, just telling yourself in words, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to get through this. This is not the end of the world. Whatever you're trying to self-talk your way through, yeah, it can help. It doesn't always get us the rest of the way. And so I just think that the key is getting back into your body, Like our physical bodies have all the answers we need. You just have to learn to listen to them. So, one thing I would encourage listeners to do is to get curious about what your somatic experience is in your body when you feel emotion. And that was fancy. So let me say it a different way.
I was going to raise my hand. Like,
Yeah,
what?
I know. Like, girl, explain it to me. Okay. When I get mad, I get really, when I get pissed, I feel it at the base of my skull. It's not pain. It's not tightness. It's just more of like an activation. It's like, it's almost like heat. It's like if I were to get mad and then take a hot second and close my eyes and be like, where do I feel my mad right now? Every time it's right there. Okay. A different example. If I'm feeling so joyful and I close my eyes and I'm like, where is that joy physically showing up in my body? I feel it right in my chest by my heart. If I'm scared, I feel it in my gut. And I say this, it might sound really simple, but I am telling you, there are so many grown-ups, especially men, but a lot of women, we are severed from our bodies. We have made our emotions cerebral. Our emotions, it's like, oh, you're mad. Where do you feel that in your body? I don't feel it anywhere. I'm just mad. No, it's in there. So, my invitation to anyone listening to this podcast is to start to get curious about your big three emotions: mad, sad, and scared. Next time you feel mad, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to scan your body and be like, where is that showing up? Next time you're sad, close your eyes, go in. Where does my sad live? And scared. When you are so worried about the outcome of whatever you're stressing about today, close your eyes. Where does scared live and talk to you in your body? Because when we can get more in connection with this vessel, this physical structure that's allowing us to have a human experience on this planet, you can start to learn to listen. Like you can be going about your day and all of a sudden you're like, oh gosh, I'm real activated back here. What am I mad about? All the answers are in here. You just have to learn how to tap in. Anyone with a nervous system can benefit from this work. My website is just emilyjacobson.com. I also am becoming more active on Instagram, which is my handle is at Emily Jacobson Coaching. I do all sorts of coaching. My signature coaching program is called Safe to Show Up. And that's all about helping my clients feel safe enough in their bodies to show up in whatever way they want to as their authentic selves. Whether that's, I really want to show up at work. I really want to show up for my kids. I really want to show up for my partner as like my full self, my authentic self, and not feel held back by the fear that is really just your nervous system trying to keep you safe.
Yeah, I think everybody listening could use her advice and help, because even those small strategies mean a lot. Thank you for being on today. I'm so glad I got to virtually meet you.
Yes,
and
likewise.
next time I'm in your neck of the wood, I'll say hi.
Yeah, please do. I'll teach you some drills and then we can have some coping wine if we need to.
Yes, our newest venture, coping wine.
Coping wine. Thank you so much. This has been a real pleasure and a real honor. And I look forward to continuing to watch the work you're doing in the world.
And we will put all of our information at the bottom of our information on the podcast, post it. But I just wanted to thank you again and say that's a wrap on today's podcast. Remember, menopause may be a wild ride, but together we've got this. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok at Hot Flash Health. Stream and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube and Spotify. And always share your thoughts with us. And if you want to come and speak with us, come on. Till next time, stay sassy, stay fabulous, and keep those hot flashes in check.